My sister Clara moved in, desperate and homeless. She started flirting with my boyfriend James. I overheard her plotting to win him. Then I found her secret note. My name's Emma. I'm 25, living in a cozy apartment in Portland, Oregon, with my boyfriend James. We've been together for 2 years, and life's been good. I work as a graphic designer, grinding away at a small firm downtown. James is a software developer, often working from home, which is great because we get to steal lunch breaks together. Our place isn't fancy, just a 2-bedroom with a view of the Willamette River, but it's ours. Or it was, until my older sister Clara came crashing back into my life. Clara's 30, 5 years older than me, but you'd think she was still a reckless teenager. Growing up, we were never close. She was the wild one, always chasing trouble, while I was the quiet kid with my nose in a sketchbook. Our parents in Eugene cut her off years ago after she blew through their savings on a failed boutique business. Clara bounced around, couch surfing, until she called me 6 months ago, sobbing. She was homeless, sleeping in her beat-up sedan, and had nowhere to go. I felt a pang in my chest. She's my sister, you know. Despite everything, I couldn't let her rot on the streets. James wasn't thrilled when I suggested Clara move in. He's patient, with warm brown eyes and a smile that calms me down, but he knew our history. Clara always had a way of stirring up chaos. Still, he agreed, saying, "If it's important to you, Emma, we'll make it work." So, we cleared out the guest room, bought an air mattress, and welcomed Clara into our home. I thought maybe, just maybe, this could be a fresh start for us. The first few days were fine. Clara was grateful, or so it seemed. She'd hug me tightly, saying, "You're a lifesaver, Em." She'd cook dinner, burning the edges of her famous lasagna, and we'd laugh about it, but something felt off. I remembered how Clara used to flirt with my high school crushes, like that time she went to the movies with a guy I liked, knowing full well I was into him. She'd play dumb, say it was no big deal, but it always stung. I brushed those memories aside, telling myself she'd changed. She had to, right? She was desperate, broken, and I was her last lifeline. Still, I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. Clara would linger in the living room when James was around, asking him about his coding projects in this overly sweet tone. I'd catch her eyeing him, her lips curling into a smile that didn't feel sisterly. I told myself I was being paranoid. I've always been insecure about my looks, my curvy hips, my freckled face. Clara's taller, with this effortless confidence that makes heads turn. Maybe I was just jealous, reading too much into things. But deep down, I knew better. Clara had a history of crossing lines, and I was starting to wonder if letting her into our home was a mistake. I wanted to believe in her, to fix our broken bond, but a tiny voice in my head kept whispering, "Be careful, Emma." Clara had been in our Portland apartment for 2 weeks, and things were already unraveling. At first, I chalked it up to her settling in. She'd leave dishes in the sink, blast music late at night, and hog the bathroom for hours. Annoying, sure, but I could handle it. I kept telling myself, she's my sister, she's been through hell, give her time. But then, her behavior shifted, and it wasn't just about dirty dishes anymore. It was about James. I've always been self-conscious about my body. My hips are curvy, not the sleek kind you see in magazines, and I've spent years learning to love them. Clara, though, she's got this model-like figure, long legs, perfect posture. She knows it too. One morning, I was getting ready for work, wearing my favorite black leggings. Clara sauntered into the kitchen, where James was sipping coffee, and smirked. "Emma, those leggings are cute, but don't you think they highlight your hips a bit too much?" she said, loud enough for James to hear. My face burned. I glanced at James, who just shrugged, clearly uncomfortable. "You look great, Em," he said, but Clara kept going. "Hey, James, you ever notice how Emma's hips kinda dip? I could show her some workouts to fix that." I froze. My stomach twisted. Was she really doing this? In my own home? I wanted to snap at her, but I bit my tongue. I didn't want to start a fight in front of James. Instead, I laughed it off, saying, "Clara, I'm good, thanks." But inside, I was fuming. That night, James pulled me aside. "Em, I don't know what's up with Clara, but she's been weird," he said. His voice was low, like he was afraid she'd overhear. He told me how she'd linger in the living room when he was working, asking random questions about his code, standing way too close. Once, she even accidentally brushed against him while grabbing a glass from the cabinet. His jaw tightened as he spoke, and I could tell he was trying to stay calm for my sake. I tried to brush it off, telling myself Clara was just being her loud, attention-seeking self. But the next day, it got worse. James was working from home, his laptop set up on the dining table. Clara came out of her room in these tiny denim shorts and a crop top that barely covered anything. We don't have a pool, and it was 50 degrees outside hardly beach weather in Portland. She strutted past James, bending over to pick up a pen she dropped right in front of him. I wasn't home, but James texted me right after. "Your sister's acting strange again. She's in shorts so short I can't even look up from my screen." My heart sank. I felt this hot, prickly anger creeping up my neck. When I got home, Clara was lounging on the couch, still in those shorts, scrolling on her phone. I confronted her, keeping my voice steady. "Clara, what's with the outfit? It's making James uncomfortable." She looked up, wide-eyed, like I'd accused her of stealing. "What? It's just hot in here, Emma. You're overreacting." Her tone was so innocent, but her smirk said otherwise. I pressed. "You know what I mean. The comments about my body, the way you're acting around James, it's not okay." She rolled her eyes, tossing her hair. "God, Emma, why would I want your boyfriend? You're the one who took me in. I'm just trying to feel comfortable." Her words hit me hard. She was right, I was the one who let her stay. Maybe I was being paranoid, letting my insecurities get the best of me. But then I remembered James's texts, his uneasy expression. I looked at Clara, her casual shrug, and something in my gut screamed she was playing me. I didn't trust her, not anymore, but I didn't want to kick her out, not yet. She had nowhere to go, and I wasn't ready to give up on her. So, I swapped swallowed my anger, nodded, and walked away, promising myself I'd keep a closer eye on her. I couldn't keep ignoring Clara's behavior. It was eating at me, gnawing at my trust in her and my peace at home. After her stunt with the tiny shorts, I decided enough was enough. That evening, I found her in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner like nothing was wrong. James was in our bedroom giving us space. I took a deep breath, my hands shaking. "Clara, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm but low. She turned, knife in hand, and gave me that innocent smile I was starting to hate. "What's up, Em?" she asked, like she hadn't been prancing around my boyfriend all week. I didn't hold back. "You're crossing lines with James. The outfits, the comments about my body, the way you're always around him, it's not okay." My heart pounded as I spoke. I hated confrontation, but I couldn't let this slide. Clara's smile faded, and she put the knife down, crossing her arms. "Wow, Emma, you're really blowing this out of proportion," she said. "I'm just being myself. You think I'm trying to steal your boyfriend? That's crazy." Her voice was calm, but her eyes had this glint, like she was daring me to push further. I clenched my fists. "Don't play dumb, Clara. James told me how you accidentally brushed against him, how you bend over in front of him for no reason. It's making us both uncomfortable." She gasped, her hand flying to her chest like I'd slapped her. "Emma, I would never. I'm your sister. You're the only one who's been there for me. Why would I do that?" Her voice cracked and tears welled up in her eyes. It was so convincing. I almost felt bad. Almost. She kept going, her words tumbling out. "I'm homeless, Emma. I've got nothing, no job, no money, no family except you. Do you know how hard it is to be in my shoes? I'm just trying to feel normal, to feel like I belong here." Her sobs grew louder, and she sank into a chair, covering her face. My anger wavered. I remembered her tear-streaked call 6 months ago, begging for a place to stay. I thought about our parents in Eugene, how they'd turned their backs on her. I was all she had left. Was I being too harsh? "Clara, I want to believe you," I said, my voice softer. "But you need to stop with the skimpy clothes and the weird behavior around James. If you're staying here, you have to respect our boundaries." She nodded quickly, wiping her tears. "I promise, Em. I'll do better. I didn't mean to make you feel like this. I'm lost, you know." She reached for my hand, squeezing it. Her eyes looked so sincere, I wanted to trust her. I wanted to believe my sister wasn't trying to hurt me. Against my better judgment, I agreed to let her stay. "Okay, but this is your last chance," I told her. "No more games." She hugged me tightly, whispering, "Thank you, Emma. You're the best sister." I hugged her back, but my stomach churned. Something felt off, like I'd just been played. James wasn't so sure either. When I told him about the conversation, he frowned. "Em, I don't trust her. She's got this way of twisting things." I nodded, but I didn't want to admit I might have made a mistake letting her stay. For a few days, things seemed better. Clara wore normal clothes, jeans, sweaters, nothing flashy. She kept to herself, helping with chores, even offering to cook dinner again. I started to relax, thinking maybe she'd meant what she said. But then, one afternoon, I came home early from work. Clara didn't know I was there. I overheard her on the phone in her room, laughing with a friend. "James is so hot, it's ridiculous," she said, her voice low. I was so close to getting his attention, but Emma flipped out. "Can you believe she almost kicked me out?" My blood ran cold. I stood there, frozen, my heart hammering. She hadn't changed. Not one bit. I stood outside Clara's room, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Her words echoed in my head. I was so close to getting his attention. My sister, the one I'd taken in, was plotting behind my back. I wanted to barge in, scream at her, but I didn't. I crept back to the living room, my hands trembling. I needed to stay calm, to think. But deep down, I knew Clara wasn't going to stop. She was testing me, pushing every boundary, and I was letting her. For a week, I watched her like a hawk. She kept up her good sister act, wearing normal clothes, helping with dishes, even asking me about my day. But it was all fake. I could feel it. Her smiles were too wide, her apologies too quick. Then, one Saturday, James was working from home again, his laptop set up in the dining room. I was at the office, stuck in a meeting, when he texted me. "Clara's at it again. She's doing yoga in the living room, in a sports bra and these tiny shorts." My stomach dropped. Yoga? We didn't even have a mat in the house. When I got home, Clara was still at it, stretching in the middle of the living room, right in James's line of sight. Her sports bra was more like a scrap of fabric, and her shorts barely qualified as clothing. She was in some exaggerated pose, facing away from James, her movements slow and deliberate. James looked miserable, his eyes glued to his screen, pretending not to notice. "Clara, what are you doing?" I snapped, dropping my bag on the floor. She stood up, wiping fake sweat from her brow. "Just staying fit, Em. Gotta keep healthy, right?" Her tone was so casual it made my skin crawl. I didn't buy it. "You know James is working. Can you do that somewhere else?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She shrugged, grabbing a water bottle. "Sorry, didn't think it was a big deal." But as she walked past James, she tripped, her hand brushing his shoulder. "Oops, my bad," she said, giggling. James flinched, his jaw tight. I saw red. That night, I pulled James aside. "She's not stopping, is she?" he said, his voice heavy. "I'm trying to stay out of her way, Em, but she's making it impossible." I nodded, my throat tight. I felt so stupid for giving her another chance. Then came the worst incident. It was a rainy Tuesday, and I was at work. James called me, his voice shaking. "Emma, you need to come home, now." My heart raced as I grabbed my keys and told my boss I had an emergency. On the drive, James explained. Clara had come out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping wet. She'd asked him to help her grab a box of detergent from the laundry room shelf. When he handed it to her, she let the towel slip just for a second, before catching it and laughing. "Oh my God, I'm so clumsy," she'd said. But James wasn't fooled. "She did it on purpose, Em. I know she did." I sped through Portland's wet streets, my blood boiling. This wasn't an accident. Clara Clara was relentless, and I was done playing nice. When I got home, she was in the kitchen, acting innocent, chopping carrots like nothing happened. Clara, we need to talk, I said, my voice sharp. She turned, her face all wide-eyed surprise. What's wrong, Em? I didn't hold back. You dropped your towel in front of James? Are you serious? I told you to stop this crap, she gasped, her hand on her chest. It was an accident, I swear. I'd never do that on purpose. But her eyes flickered, and I knew she was lying. I was shaking with rage. You're not fooling me, Clara. I heard you on the phone talking about getting James's attention. You're trying to wreck my life. Her face crumpled, tears welling up. Emma, I'm sorry. I'm just lonely. I didn't mean anything by it. But I wasn't buying her crocodile tears anymore. She'd crossed a line, and I was ready to draw the final one. I stood in the kitchen, staring at Clara, her fake tears glistening under the fluorescent lights. My hands shook, my pulse hammering in my ears. I'd given her chance after chance, but she'd thrown everyone back in my face. That towel stunt with James was it, the final straw. I wasn't just angry, I was done. Done with her games, her lies, her attempts to worm her way into my life and ruin it. Clara, I said, my voice low and steady, you need to pack your things. You're out tonight. Her eyes widened, her mouth dropping open. What? Emma, no, you can't, she cried, stepping toward me. Her tears came faster now, but I saw through them. They weren't real. They were the same crocodile tears she'd used to manipulate me before. I didn't mean it. It was an accident, I swear, she pleaded, her voice cracking. I shook my head. No more excuses. I heard you on the phone, Clara. You admitted you were trying to get James's attention. You've been playing me this whole time. She froze, her face paling. For a second, I thought she'd drop the act, but then she doubled down. You're twisting my words. I was joking with my friend. I'd never hurt you, Em. You're my sister. Her voice was desperate, but it only made me angrier. I thought back to high school, how she'd flirted with my crush, how she'd laughed it off when I called her out. This was the same Clara, just older and bolder. You haven't changed, I said, my voice cold. You've been crossing lines since we were kids, and I'm done letting you. James walked in, his face tense. He'd been in our bedroom giving me space to handle this, but I could see the strain in his eyes. Emma, you okay? He asked, standing by my side. Clara's gaze flicked to him, and for a split second, I saw that same calculating glint in her eyes. James, tell her it was nothing, she begged, turning to him. You know I didn't mean anything by it. James shook his head, his jaw tight. Clara, you know exactly what you did. Stop lying. His voice was calm but firm, and my heart swelled. He had my back, always. Clara's tears stopped like she'd flipped a switch. Her face hardened, and she crossed her arms. Fine. If you're gonna believe him over me, then you're the idiot, Emma. My blood boiled. Get out, I snapped. I'm not doing this anymore. You've got 1 hour to pack, or I'm calling the cops. Her eyes widened, and she laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You'd kick out your own sister? The one with nowhere to go? You're heartless. Her words stung, but I held my ground. You made your choices, Clara. This is on you. She stormed to her room, slamming the door. I heard her throwing things into bags, muttering curses. James put his arm around me, pulling me close. You did the right thing, Em, he whispered. She was tearing you apart. I nodded, but my chest ached. Clara was my sister, the only family I had left after our parents cut her off. I'd wanted to help her, to fix things between us, but she'd burned that bridge. I felt relief, but it was tangled with guilt, like I was abandoning her. An hour later, Clara emerged, her bag slung over her shoulder. She glared at me, her eyes red but dry. You'll regret this, she spat. You think you're so perfect, Emma, with your cute little life and your perfect boyfriend, but you're nothing without me. I didn't respond. I just opened the front door and pointed to the hallway. She huffed, brushing past me, and left without another word. The door clicked shut, and the silence was deafening. James squeezed my hand. It's over, he said. I nodded, my throat tight. For the first time in months, our apartment felt like ours again. But as I sank onto the couch, I couldn't shake the feeling that Clara wasn't done with me yet. Clara was gone, and our Portland apartment felt like a weight had lifted. The silence was peaceful, not heavy, for the first time in months. James and I stood in the living room, the air still thick with the echo of Clara's parting words. You okay, Em? He asked, his hand warm on my shoulder. I nodded, but my chest was tight. Kicking out my sister wasn't easy, even if she deserved it. I'd spent so long hoping we could rebuild something, anything, but now I saw the truth. Clara didn't want a sister, she wanted control. The next few days were a blur. I went back to work, sketching designs at my desk, while James coded from home. We started having date nights again, simple things, like grabbing burgers at a food cart by the Willamette River, or watching old movies on our couch. It felt like us again, just the two of us, no shadow lurking in the guest room. I kept expecting to feel guilty, to second-guess myself, but mostly, I felt free. Clara's absence was like a deep breath after being underwater too long. Still, her words haunted me. You'll regret this. I tried to shake them off, but they lingered. Then, 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I knew it was her before I even answered. Emma, please. Clara's voice was shaky, desperate. I'm sorry for everything. I'm at a shelter in Salem. I've changed, I swear. Can we just talk? My stomach twisted. Part of me wanted to believe her, to give her one more chance. But then I remembered her smirk, her lies, the way she'd tried to wedge herself between me and James. No, Clara, I said, my voice steady. You crossed too many lines. We're done. She started to cry, or at least she made it sound like she was. I have nothing, Emma. No job, no home. You're all I've got. Her words hit hard, but I wasn't falling for it this time. You made your choices, I said. Don't call me again. I hung up, my hands shaking. James looked up from his laptop. Her again? He asked. I nodded, sinking onto the couch. She's at a shelter. Says she's changed. He reached for my hand. You don't owe her anything, Em. You tried. That's more than most would do. He was right. right. I'd given Clara a roof, a chance, my trust, and she'd trampled all of it. I thought about our childhood, how she'd always taken what wasn't hers, my crushes, my confidence, even our parents' attention. I'd spent years trying to fix her, to be the good sister, but I was done carrying that burden. My life with James, my job, my little apartment in Portland, that was enough. I didn't need Clara's chaos to feel complete. As the weeks passed, the guilt faded. I started sleeping better, laughing more. James and I planned a weekend trip to the Oregon coast, just to get away. Standing on the beach, the wind whipping my hair, I felt something new. Peace. Clara was out of my life, and for the first time, I wasn't looking back. I didn't know what she'd do next, but that wasn't my problem anymore. Looking back, kicking Clara out of my Portland apartment was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It wasn't just about her leaving, it was about letting go of the idea that I could save her. For years, I'd carried this hope that we could be real sisters, the kind who share secrets and laugh over coffee. But Clara didn't want that. She wanted to take, to control, to make me feel small. Standing up to her, drawing that line, changed me. It taught me that love doesn't mean letting someone walk all over you. Life with James feels solid now. We're back to our routines, cooking tacos on Fridays, biking along the Willamette River, planning our future. He's my rock, always has been. When I told him how Clara's betrayal brought back old insecurities, he just held me and said, "You're enough, Em. You always were." Those words stuck. I'd spent so long comparing myself to Clara, her confidence, her looks, that I forgot to see my own strength. I'm not perfect, but I'm learning to love the woman I am, curvy hips and all. I think about Clara sometimes. I wonder if she's still in that Salem shelter, or if she's found a way to pull herself together. Part of me hopes she does, but I know it's not my job to fix her. I tried that, and it nearly cost me my peace, my relationship, my home. Setting boundaries with her was like reclaiming a piece of myself I didn't know I'd lost. I used to feel guilty for having a good life, a steady job, a loving boyfriend, a cozy apartment in Portland while she struggled. But I worked for this, I built it, and I'm done apologizing for it. My parents called a few weeks ago asking about Clara. They hadn't heard from her since she left Eugene years ago. I told them the truth. I let her stay. She betrayed me, and I had to let her go. They didn't argue, just sighed, like they'd expected it. "You did what you could," Mom said. It wasn't much, but it felt like closure. I realized I wasn't just fighting Clara's chaos. I was fighting the weight of our family's history. Letting her go meant letting go of that too. Now, when I walk through my apartment, it feels like mine again. No lingering tension, no second-guessing every sound from the guest room. I've started sketching more, pouring my energy into my designs. James and I are talking about moving to a bigger place, maybe starting a family someday. The future feels open, like a blank canvas. I don't know if Clara will ever change, or if she'll call again with more tears and promises, but I know this: I won't let her back in. Not because I hate her, but because I love myself too much to let her chaos take over again. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that boundaries aren't selfish, they're survival. And sometimes, the hardest thing you can do is walk away from someone you love, not because you've given up, but because you've chosen yourself. I'm choosing me now, every single day.